My husband secretly loves watching me do this, but he'll never admit it. An authentic tale of betrayal. It began as a momentary flash, an essence so untainted that I scarcely took the time to reflect on it. As I ponder the past, I come to understand just how close I was to crossing a threshold. What I find genuinely intriguing is that it was my husband who made the observation. He not only observed it, but he also nurtured it from the outset. As the events unfolded, I gradually grasped the existence of a deep undercurrent at work. Let us call him Ryan. For years, he has remained a steadfast figure, an enduring family friend, effortlessly charming and relaxed, the kind of person who illuminates a room with the greatest of ease. I must admit that an undeniable energy has always existed between us, though I have repeatedly dismissed it as nothing more than innocent chemistry. In the end, I discover myself enveloped in a state of joyous union. Yet, Ryan started to weave in comments that carried an air of intimacy, brushing against the boundaries of comfort. He would comment, "You possess a radiant glow today." Or, "I yearn for my girlfriend to find joy in my jokes just as you do." Initially, I dismissed it as just a reflection of his fanciful nature. Nevertheless, my husband Daniel noted his reaction. Daniel seemed neither envious nor irritated. Instead, he appeared utterly captivated. Ryan has a cultivated palate. At first glance, it seemed merely a playful and fanciful diversion. However, the lines started to blur. While we cleared away the traces of a vibrant dinner gathering one evening, he delivered a quip that ignited a wave of laughter from deep within me. Yet, there was a quality in his tone that enchanted me, perhaps even igniting a flicker of exhilaration within. In that instant, the journey commenced. Daniel started to nudge me towards enhancing my wardrobe whenever Ryan was around, urging me to laugh a little louder at his jokes and to lean in closer during those cozy late-night conversations. One evening, he suggested that I join Ryan, just the two of us, to procure some necessities for the barbecue we were set to host. "It'll be quicker without me," he said, his tone casual and indifferent. However, his eyes told a story of their own. A notion slowly started to infiltrate my thoughts. Was there something deeper lurking beneath the surface, or was this simply a testament to Daniel's steadfast confidence in our union? It was in that car ride with Ryan that a pivotal event transpired, changing the trajectory of everything. As dusk settled, we eased into the car, a refreshing chill wrapping around us, while an intangible tension hung in the air, difficult to define yet impossible to ignore. I sought to banish the strange feeling that this was truly Ryan, the one with whom I had shared countless laughs and forged treasured memories, frequently in the delightful presence of Daniel or other friends. Therefore, this was indeed no exception, was it? The expedition commenced in a hushed manner, interspersed with gentle exchanges regarding the forthcoming barbecue and the provisions we should gather. In that fleeting moment, Ryan turned to me, his trade Daniel smile illuminating his face as he said, "You've been different lately, in a good way." I hesitated, ensnared in a fleeting moment of doubt regarding how to respond differently. "How so?" "I am not acquainted with her lighter. No matter what it is, it fits you flawlessly." Indeed, he averted his gaze momentarily before his eyes sought mine, lingering for a heartbeat longer than necessary. I released a nervous laugh and swiftly stepped out of the car, dismissing his Daniel as inconsequential. Yet, within the depths of her being, a complex mix of admiration and unease began to stir. With a smile, he deftly redirected the conversation to Daniel, noting, "He's a lucky guy." As he cast a fleeting look my way, "Not every husband would be so laid back about, well, our time together like this," which left me with a knot in my stomach. Did his words cross a line by making me feel acknowledged in the midst of the store's confines? In a fleeting moment, our fingers grazed each other as we both reached for a bag of chips, and he hesitated, not pulling away right away. Even though it was a minor issue, it lingered in my mind as we finished our checkout and headed home. Embrace a lighthearted attitude, ask with curiosity, and communicate with a joyful voice. The phrase hung in the air, its interpretations twisting and turning in the recesses of my mind. Is Daniel genuinely as unaffected by this as Ryan thought, or is there a deeper layer yet to be uncovered? He hesitated, measuring his words with precision before he began to speak. While a flicker of jealousy might cross the minds of some, Daniel remains untouched by such feelings. He embraces it with a certain ease. There's an invigorating quality to that acceptance. As we arrived back home, Daniel stood on the porch, a beer in hand, his eyes sparkling with that familiar, inquisitive glint. He asked casually about the trip, but his eyes darted between me and Ryan, as if he were trying to unravel a story hidden in invisible ink. I reassured him that all was well and quickly proceeded, though I could feel their gaze lingering upon me. The air was thick with unspoken tension that night as we lay in bed, and I realized I could no longer restrain myself. "Daniel," I cautiously asked if I could pose a question to him. He turned to me, his expression calm yet observant. I took a deep breath, allowing the air to fill my lungs. "What prompted you to want me to join Ryan?" "I trust you," Daniel said with a quiet certainty, and I find myself drawn to that trust as well. Just as a wave of relief started to envelop me, he made a comment that plunged me into turmoil. "Honestly, I think it benefits you greatly." The echoes of his words resonated within me, haunting my thoughts long after they had left his lips. What was the implication of that "good for me"? A persistent feeling gnawed at me, hinting that Daniel was keeping something important to himself, yet I felt powerless to address it in that moment. Today, Daniel's slow, intentional smile sent a shiver down my spine. The days that followed emerged draped in a disquieting veneer of normalcy, or so it seemed. Daniel persisted in his routine, appearing impervious to any change, while I found myself increasingly sensitive to every subtle nuance in my surroundings. Ryan's presence altered the ambience, as though I were perceiving him through a unique lens that infused everything with a vibrant energy. One evening, amidst a relaxed dinner gathering with friends at our home, he made his entrance, as was his usual habit, arriving fashionably late. As he stepped inside, his eyes found mine, and I was acutely aware of the electric charge that surged between us. In a fleeting moment, the palpable tension I had been striving to ignore seized Daniel's awareness as he caught sight of Ryan. He beckoned, gesturing for him to come closer. "You simply must experience the ribs. They are her finest creation to date." His focus on her caused a warm blush to spread across my cheeks as the evening unfolded. On several occasions, I caught Ryan casting furtive looks in my direction, especially when I made my way to the kitchen to retrieve a bottle of wine. "You're avoiding me," he redanieled, trailing behind me, his posture relaxed as he leaned against the counter. A nervous laugh escaped my lips, my eyes locked on the bottle as I twisted the cork free. "Do not be ridiculous. I assure you, I'm not evading your presence." He edged in a fraction nearer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "You're aware that I'm here for you to discuss anything, aren't you? Should anything weigh on your mind?" At last, I raised my eyes to his, and for a fleeting moment, the breath hitched in my throat, ensnared by the searing intensity of his gaze, leaving me momentarily frozen in place. I find myself undisturbed by any circumstance. I turned swiftly, my heart racing within my chest, fully conscious that he could perceive my discomfort. Daniel intervened before he could voice another syllable. His timing was almost impeccable as he redanieled, "Alas, you have arrived," with a playful demeanor and a sharp gaze. "Is everything all right?" With a natural inclination, I found myself smiling as I replied. In that intimate space, I felt an urge to confide in Daniel about the burden I bore, for as the last of the guests departed, we settled into a serene moment together on the couch. His gaze rested on me, a quiet tension enveloping the space, as he lingered for my response. He started speaking to you and Ryan with a calm but determined tone. "Do you not sense that you are approaching the target?" As friends, I leaned in with a gentle tone, asking about the reason for his shrugging gaze, which was fixed intently on mine. "The way he gazed at you was utterly captivating, and your response to his look ignited a tempest within me." "What does this mean?" Perhaps you should take a chance and witness the result, as Daniel's smile appeared to be devoid of the warmth found in his eyes. With a sense of incredulity, I fixed my eyes upon him. Is this truly happening? His expression remained firm, unwavering in its determination. Words eluded me, prompting a simple observation. Life is too ephemeral to overlook the facets that bestow a sense of purpose. Was this simply a test? Did he bestow upon me the gift of permission, or was it simply a cunning trap? No matter the circumstances, an unmistakable feeling resided within me that everything would transform from this moment forward. Every meeting between Ryan and me shimmered with an unspoken bond, yet I found myself unsure of how far either of us was willing to explore. Daniel's words reverberated through my thoughts. Life is fleeting, and we must not neglect the moments that set our souls ablaze. I tried to set it aside, concentrating on the comforting cadence of my everyday duties, while making sure the barbecue was ready for our impending gathering. Still, in spite of my attempts to focus, my thoughts incessantly returned to that night, to Ryan and the fervor of his eyes fixed on me. Ryan was there, as expected and entirely in character. He radiated charisma, sharing quips and drawing laughter from everyone in his vicinity. Nevertheless, an unmistakable tension hung in the air whenever our eyes met, and I became keenly aware of its presence. I found myself watching him more than might be considered proper, taking in the intricacies of his gestures and the delicate changes in his tone when he spoke to me. In a fleeting instant, I excused myself to procure a drink from the bar, and before I could fully grasp the moment, Ryan materialized at my side. The wedding of a friend is usually a celebration denialed by decorum and grace, yet an unsettling tension lingered in the air, amplifying my sense of unease. "Are you all right?" I nodded in reply to his question, which came in a voice that was both too soft and too closed, yet an unsettling feeling lingered within me, leaving me unsure of its source. "Truly, I feel completely exhausted." He gestured toward the empty balcony ahead and beckoned, "Join me for a breath of fresh air. A break from the presence of others might be precisely what you need." After a long day, he revealed that familiar, playful smile that always managed to quicken my heartbeat. For a brief moment, doubts seized my thoughts. Could this be a subtle invitation? Could it be that I misunderstood? Or was there a narrative unfolding beyond my grasp? I cast a fleeting look at Face Daniel, who, as ever, was enveloped in laughter and animated dialogue with a small group of friends across the room. He was unaware of my exit with Ryan as we stepped onto the balcony, where the cool night air calmed the fluttering butterflies inside me. Ryan leaned against the railing, and I settled beside him, just within reach of the warmth emanating from his body. "You look absolutely breathtaking this evening," he murmured, his voice low and laced with a hint of intimacy. I forced a smile, cautious of the sound of my own voice, and the ensuing silence hung heavily in the air. "It appears to me that Daniel has a certain acquaintance with frowns. He has the gift of vision. He notes the undeniable attraction that lingers between us," Ryan continued. His eyes were locked onto mine. I found myself at the edge of a decision that could not be undone, with no option to turn back from the journey that lay before me. Ryan's gaze locked onto mine, and in that brief moment, I felt a spark of hope that he might lean in and kiss me. His gaze captured mine, a wordless communication that conveyed so much, forging an intense connection that appeared to suspend time, rendering me momentarily breathless and unable to respond. As I was about to respond, Daniel's voice suddenly rang out from within, summoning me. At that very moment, the trajectory of events changed forever. Was it an experiment, an allure, or did someone truly mean to cross the line? "Will you be returning to us shortly, my dear?" Ryan withdrew from the railing, his smile shifting into a cryptic look, and I was suddenly yanked back to reality, my heart pounding in my chest. "Go on," he urged gently. As I wandered through the labyrinth of my thoughts, I contemplated the occurrences that had unfolded and the inexplicable feeling that the earth beneath me had subtly altered. The crucial question remained. Did Daniel hold the knowledge? What was unfolding, precisely? Or had he been crafting his own elaborate plan from the very beginning? The days that ensued were a whirlwind of feelings, as the recollections of the wedding night reverberated through my mind relentlessly. Ryan's words echoed in my thoughts, mirrored in the gaze he held. As I strolled away, I endeavored to maintain an air of composure. Still, a heavy, almost choking tension hung in the atmosphere each time our gazes intertwined. A tangible burden exchanged between Daniel and myself. It felt as though he could gaze deep into my essence, perceiving the fragility of my circumstances. One afternoon, Daniel and I lounged on the couch, casually flipping through channels, when he effortlessly broached the subject. "How did your discussion with Ryan unfold?" One recent evening, I found myself frozen, my heart pounding fiercely in my chest. "What do you mean?" he shrugged, evading my gaze. It seems the balcony, with its drinks in hand, provided a perfect backdrop for the two of you, who appeared quite cozy in that moment. I stared at him, unable to comprehend what I was witnessing. He sensed my disorientation, a fog of confusion enveloping me, leaving me unsure of how or when everything had unraveled. Nevertheless, I sensed an undeniable conviction in his words, conveyed with an unruffled demeanor, an aura of detachment. The mere thought sent a wave of unease through my stomach. Was this a trial of some kind, or had I merely been meandering without purpose? As the ambience transformed into a much more somber shade, I discovered myself rendered speechless. In a moment of uncertainty, I found myself at a loss for words, my gaze fixed upon him as I sought to unravel the meaning behind his expression. Did he appear to be in distress? Daniel's eyes were keen, but his voice carried a lightness as he replied. "I am well aware of my own intelligence." He donned that well-known, effortless smile, unfazed by my tumultuous curiosity and bubbling anger. He took it all in, Daniel, and I couldn't help but notice the way your eyes lingered on him, mirrored by the intensity of his own gaze upon you. A chill swept through me, casting doubt on my ability to maneuver through this predicament. A flicker of worry crossed my mind, fearing he might come undone, but Daniel lifted a hand and reassured me, "I'm not mad if that's what you're thinking." He spoke softly, "I trust you and I trust him," as he exhaled deeply. There is an exhilarating quality in the way circumstances are unfolding right now. I was completely taken aback. What a thrilling experience this turned out to be. He went on, expressing that there exists a profound worth in the yearning to be desired, in the very core of genuinely experiencing life. The look Ryan directs toward you is undeniable, and your response reveals so much more than words ever could. In a particular light, it holds a certain beauty, he observed. Yet, I found myself adrift in a sea of silence, my thoughts whirling in a chaotic storm. How had I come to find myself in this situation? Was this simply a game to him, to both of them? Was he gently steering me toward Ryan without my realization, or was I simply overanalyzing? Daniel notes the bewilderment reflected in my expression. "I am not seeking anything from you. I simply wish to express that I am at ease with whatever comes my way." I thought I understood the core of Daniel, but I was left struggling for breath. A weight pressed upon my chest, while my mind whirled in a tumultuous ballet of thoughts. Everything now appeared to be appended, even though I thought I understood his stance. What exactly was he asking of me? What reflections danced through my mind that night as Daniel succumbed to sleep while I remained alert in the surrounding shadows? Ideas cascaded through my mind with relentless force, and Ryan remained etched in my awareness. As I pondered the seamless transition into that realm with him, I felt a subtle undercurrent of something profound, quietly simmering just beneath the surface. In that instant, my thoughts wandered to Daniel and the manner in which he seemed to conduct the entire situation, as if he were immersed in a complex game with me. But what did it all truly mean? The following day, Ryan made contact with me. At first, it was just an innocuous phone call, a straightforward check-in on the happenings of the week, aimed at broaching the subject of the upcoming weekend. In his characteristic playful style, he asked, "So when will Daniel finally let me take you out on a proper date, huh?" Ryan continued, I found myself pondering your words from the other night about the state of our affairs, how we've been skirting around it for so long, and my heart quickened at the mere thought. A gentle laugh escaped my lips, but an uneasy silence hung in the air, a tangible tension that insisted on being acknowledged. What exactly are you alluding to? A prolonged silence hung in the air on the other end until he finally shattered it. You understand what I'm getting at, he redanieled. The connection we share, the undeniable chemistry, the magnetic attraction. A wave of warmth surged across my cheeks. This was the moment I had long feared. What was I meant to say in response? I hesitated, my words tumbling out in a rush as I sought to withdraw from the conversation. The situation is intricate. Ryan's tone softened, taking on a quality that was both soothing and subtly convincing. It need not be intricate. It's merely the two of us, and I have a strong sense that you can perceive it. The weight of his words hung heavily in the air, pressing down on me with an undeniable force. Was he right? Could this destiny have been escaped? More importantly, was I ready to face the consequences of stepping into a domain from which there was no escape? The days that followed stretched out before me, a slow and relentless countdown to an event I dreaded, one I felt powerless to stop. Ryan's words lingered in my thoughts, his voice reverberating as though challenging me to face the unspoken tension that had been brewing between us. In the interim, Daniel continued on, seemingly oblivious to any change around him. The game he engaged in slipped through my grasp, yet I could feel its intensity escalating with every fleeting second. On a Saturday night, the atmosphere thickened, and everything teetered on the edge of transformation. Daniel had orchestrated a tranquil evening at home for the two of us, a night filled with films and unwinding, yet I couldn't shake the awareness that Ryan would be close by. Earlier, he had sent a message inquiring whether he might swing by for a brief drink following his workday. I almost succeeded in suppressing my discomfort, persuading myself that it was just an ordinary drink, wasn't it? Upon Ryan's entrance, the ambience of the room shifted dramatically. An unspoken tension lingered just below the surface of Daniel's smile. He greeted Ryan with a casualness that masked the underlying tension. The atmosphere was warm and laid back, yet I couldn't help but ponder my role in this evolving tableau. The evening's peculiar drama hung heavily in the air as Daniel and Ryan embraced their roles with a distinctive flair. As the minutes slipped away, the atmosphere grew increasingly charged. Daniel reclined in his chair, effortlessly delivering quips, while Ryan exuded his characteristic charm. Yet amidst the laughter, the fleeting glances we exchanged, the gentle touches, and the way our eyes lingered on one another, just a heartbeat longer sent shivers down my spine in the most exhilarating way. Was I the one ensnared in the tumult, caught between conflicting allegiances, or was I merely yielding to the seductive pull of desire? He commented nonchalantly, "I suppose I ought to be on my way." Still, I felt he had more to say. An unresolved tension hung in the air, surpassing the drinks we had shared. As his eyes met mine from the threshold, a wave of understanding and expectation enveloped me. "May I have a moment of your time to converse?" he inquired, and in that moment, I grasped the profound significance of his utterance. Daniel was in the other room when he inquired in a low voice, and before I could respond, Ryan moved closer. I swallowed hard. What is that he first remained silent? He simply stood there, staring at me with such intensity that my heart raced, and then he said in a voice that was almost audible above a whisper, "I'm thinking all the time. I want to know if you share my feelings or if I'm wasting my time." The image of Daniel sitting in the adjacent room, utterly oblivious to what was happening in front of him, made my mind spin. The guilt struck me like a wave, but beneath it was a surge of exhilaration because Ryan wasn't asking for anything subtle anymore. Instead, he was putting everything on the line. The world seemed to tilt as I stammered, unable to form a coherent sentence. "This is wrong." He shook his head, and I thought, is it really, or is it just what we're supposed to believe, what everyone expects us to do? His hand reached out and touched mine, and I pulled it away. "We can't do this," I whispered. Not like this, but even as I said it, there was a part of me that wasn't so sure. There was an irresistible attraction that was getting stronger every second. Daniel was standing there, watching us, his eyes unreadable, and for a moment, I thought I saw a flicker with amusement and disappointment. Is everything okay? I turned to face Daniel, feeling guilty and merely babbling. He inquired in a calm manner as if he were speaking to an old friend, but I could sense the strain behind his words. Daniel nodded, but his eyes briefly shifted to Ryan. We should probably call it a night early today and tomorrow, because he didn't even wait for an answer before turning back toward the kitchen. It was obvious that this wasn't the end of the conversation, and when the door closed behind him, I was left standing in the living room, caught between two worlds. The weight of his presence and the unmistakable pull I felt toward Ryan made me feel as though I was trapped in a state of silence. Ward Daniel hadn't said anything directly, but I knew he was aware of the deafening silence in the house when Daniel reappeared. He was sitting next to me on the couch. His eyes were intensely examining me, and for the first time in our marriage, I felt as though he could see right through every layer I had put up. Couldn't respond to him. The question remained unanswered. The reality is that I couldn't reverse what had already begun. I knew then that nothing would ever be the same, and the frightening part was that I wasn't even sure whether I wanted to.